What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Corvette Weekly. This is the show where you can tune in for anything and everything Corvette related. It is 2 days later than usual. I did have to skip on Monday, and not without being called out from it. Z06 Hot Rod Todd's already asking about me bragging about never missing a Monday. I wasn't bragging. I was just saying I like to not miss Mondays if I don't have to. Monday, there was no way I was getting on here. I was super sick. I'm still not 100%, but there was no way I was going to postpone it again. So, and yeah, I kind of like the way Steve Robertson stands up for me here. He says he didn't miss it. He just postponed it. I like that. Professor Corvette said the same thing. He didn't miss it. He's just about 48 hours late. Yeah, I'm a little bit late, but yeah, a bit later than usual. But thanks for coming back, guys. Thanks for tuning in on a Wednesday, even though obviously this is normally a Monday show. There's something about the Pittsburgh International Auto Show. Almost every year that I go to that, I end up getting sick. I don't know what's going on down there. I'm the only one that ever gets sick as well. So it's not even like a mass panic kind of situation. I get sick every year at the International Auto Show. It's just something about the time of year or something. But unfortunately, it happened again this year, and there was just no way I was making it on for Monday. So we do have actually a lot of good things to talk about tonight. And believe it or not, because we did skip the Monday and moved it to Wednesday, there's actually two additional pieces of news that came out since Monday that kind of help fill in some gaps on some of the other news we're going to talk about. So thanks for tuning in. Like I said, guys, I really appreciate all of the support here, of course. I do want to start this thing off pretty quickly, though, because we got a lot to talk about today. So let's start with the big one. And in case you guys haven't seen this yet, any of you going to the Bash this year, the NCM Bash, David came up with a great idea last year to call the new T-shirt idea for the Bash the HPO Takeover. This year we have a new shirt for 2026, so each year is going to be numbered with the current year, obviously. If you go to the website, just horsepowerobsessed.com, click on HPO merchandise. This is the shirt right here. It is currently pre-order, so when you do order this, I will basically take all these numbers and give them to the shirt manufacturer, and we'll have them shipping out around the first week of April. But you're going to want to get in on this as soon as possible. So if you do go to the website and order these, order as many as you want. Obviously, it helps the channel a lot, but I'm also going to have a special day at the Bash where we're going to do a takeover day, probably Friday again, like we did last year. And last year we had like 40 or 50 people wearing these shirts, and we took a big group photo. I want to do that again this year. I want to continuously get bigger and bigger and bigger. Obviously, the shirt is modeled after the Bash. It has my logo on it, but you can clearly see the NCM, the museum in the background there, as well as some ZR1s and ZR1Xs. So if you guys like it and you want to help out the channel, just go to horsepowerobsessed.com and click on merch, and you can grab that shirt for yourself. Like I said, anything like that does help the channel, and I appreciate it. Do see a lot of green names over here again, guys. But same thing. I really appreciate you guys hanging on to the memberships. Obviously, we're going to do as much as we can with that moving forward. Carlisle is going to be something pretty interesting. I'm talking with some future partners, sponsors for that. So stay tuned for Carlisle. I think we can probably integrate the memberships of YouTube onto the whole Carlisle setup. I don't want to give too much away, so stay tuned for that. Oh, that's a great question. Professor Corvette says, what are we going to do with the Bash after we take it over? What's going to change? If we take it over, if we could literally get every single person at that Bash on Friday wearing this shirt and we could take it over, we might actually have a say in what we could change. So let's try to do that. That would be a great idea. It's a great idea. All right, so yeah, David's in the house. It's awesome. David, thanks for tuning in. We're going to talk a lot about some of the results that David actually found on his YouTube channel recently. So if you guys haven't checked that out, David spent some time with Steven, who might be in here. I didn't see his name in here yet, but if he's in here, he has a ZR1, and they've been doing some really interesting stuff with some mods and making some pretty crazy power. We're going to talk about that as well. So like I said, lots to talk about tonight. Even though this is moved from Monday to Wednesday, it actually benefited us because we're going to have some additional information we didn't have access to on Monday. So really cool. Kevin Horan says, can we wear the old shirt on Thursday and new one on Friday? Hey, Kevin, I will allow it just for you. Seriously though, guys, you can wear whatever shirt you want. I just thought it was a neat idea to make the Bash takeover kind of a yearly thing. Initially, I didn't want to do that because it seems weird to me, but everybody asked for a new one each year, so that's what we're doing. Honestly, if I see any of you guys and you're consistently wearing HPO shirts, I'm going to call it out. I'm going to call it out, and it's going to be a great thing. I'm going to feel very good about that, but totally up to you, of course. The other thing I want to talk about real quick before I bring on our favorite guy named Joe, I guess that's what we'll call him, our favorite Joe, because there's so many Joes. We're going to bring him on in 1 minute, but before we do, one other thing I wanted to talk about is the Z06 that I've been talking about being given away from the Sprint Car Hall of Fame Museum. It was given away. And I wanted to let you guys know that the winner is a woman from Indiana. She wins the 25 Z06 and 20K cash from, of course, the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame. This is the car that I've been talking about for probably the last couple months, and I wanted to show you guys again, these are real. This is a real person who just won this car, and it looks like, it doesn't say how much she put into it, but it looks like, well, I mean, it only took one ticket to win. That's her ticket number highlighted right there. She wins. Her name's Erica Kaufman. She literally won a brand new 25 Z06 and some cash to go with it. Now, the reason I want to mention this is because I hear people talk about these from time to time, and they act like these are scams. They're not. These are not scams. Not only can you clearly see that this woman won it here, I actually know personally one of my subscribers that actually won a Z06, and he's been down at the Bash a couple times. I made a video of it last year at the Bash. So if you haven't seen that yet, check it out. He literally won a red mist Z06 right when the cars were like the hardest to get. He won one, and he bought $2,000 worth of tickets, but he won. So again, you're going to see these pop up on my channel from time to time. I just want to make it clear, these are not scams. They are 100% legit. And if you want to try to win a car, there's no better way to do it than to click on a link on the channel here, because you actually get extra entries for doing so. But with all of that said, I'm going to turn it over to Joe, because we do have some HPO Vet Exchange news that he's going to discuss with us. So, Joe, take it away.
Hey, Justin. Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone's having a good week. And Justin, hope you're feeling better. To kick off tonight, we're going to start with the 2024 Silver Flare Metallic 2LT convertible, 30,000 off sticker. So if you're looking for a low mileage warranty car, it's adrenaline red interior. It's got the special wheels on it. So it's a Z51 GT2 buckets, and it has the 4K polished wheels from the factory, which I have not personally seen on a lot of vehicles that I go to at car shows. So it is a bit unique. Under 11,000 miles, one owner, clean Carfax, and again, $30,000 off sticker for essentially a pretty new car in great condition. So that's definitely one to take a look at. And then we have some featured new cars to take a look at. So Justin, do you want to touch on those?
Sure. So like Joe said, that silver convertible, those wheels I've actually seen in person, and they are really interesting looking, especially on silver. It looks the best. Like Joe said as well, not something you're going to see on very many cars, but we do have 3 other cars that I have not listed on the website yet that we chose as kind of like the deal of the week, we'll say, even though there's 3 of them. So we'll say the deals of the week. But the first one is probably going to catch most of your attention, and it's because it is, of course, the new Roswell Green. It's a 2026 Z06 John Deere spec'd out, and you can have it for almost $14,000 under sticker. So we're not talking about 14 grand off of a 25. This is a brand new 26. And Roswell Green, all of the things you want from a 26 with the new interior. And if you're big on the John Deere spec, here it is. And I'll be honest, I've seen the John Deere spec in person with the ZR1 that we have at Blackout Tinting currently, and it is not bad at all. Now, if you're like me and you can't get it out of your head that it's a John Deere spec, there's no way I'd be able to do it, but it is a beautiful car if you're not as crazy as I am, I guess. So either way, Z06, $13,900, almost $14,000 off sticker here, guys. The Z06s they've come way down in price, but at the same time, this is brand new. So this is not some dealership way of getting the cars off the lot real quick. This is a brand new car. If the Z06 isn't your thing, if you want to stick with a Stingray, we actually have one of those too. Again, at Criswell. And these will be on the website. We'll be uploading these onto the website. And even before they're on the website, if you're interested in these guys, shoot us an email. It's just the hpovetexchange@gmail.com. Make sure you're sending us an email and we will get you the VIP pricing and VIP entire thing, basically. We're going to make sure that you're taken care of. So even though these are listed at Criswell, shoot us an email. We'll get you in touch with the right people, and they're going to be a lot more likely to work with you based on, kind of wholesale or, the fact that we're sending them a lot of business here. But again, if you're not into the Z06, check out the Stingray, because you can get a Roswell Green Stingray as well for $11,000 under sticker. Again, really awesome pricing on these things, guys. Roswell Green 2026, all of the good things that everybody wants on these cars. Shoot us a message. You could potentially save even more than the $11,000. Send us a message. Let us introduce you to the right people and get this ball rolling for you. Now, if you're not a Roswell Green person and you want a Z06, I get it. We actually have one of those as well. Here's one in red mist, convertible, almost $18,000 off sticker. Now, this is a 2025. So as you go back in the years a little bit, you're going to get more and more and more off. But these numbers, even though they're great, $18,000 off sticker is fantastic. That's not set in stone. If you want to work with them, shoot us an email and we'll make sure we get you in touch with the right people, and you could potentially get even more off of this car. These are fantastic prices as they are already, but they could get even better. So again, shoot us an email, and absolute fantastic deals here. And here's the email. If you need it on screen, I'll even copy and paste it into the chat here. So if you guys are interested, like I said, it's just hpovetexchange@gmail.com. And yeah, we will take care of you, whether it's for the silver one or any one of the 26s we talked about. It's right there in the chat. Feel free. You're going to talk. By sending that email, you'll talk directly to Joe. If you want to talk to me, Joe will forward it to me. We'll forward it after all the conversation is done to the right person down at Criswell, and they'll make sure you're taken care of. So that's pretty much that. Chopper Larry says the green car was not a Z06. One of them is a Z06. One of them is a Stingray. So just so we're on the same page here, this one is a Z06 2026 for about $14K under MSRP. And then the 2026 Stingray as well. Both of them Roswell Green. But whether you're one of Z06 or a Stingray, or even if we're not showing something you want, shoot us an email. Let us know what you want, and we can probably find it for you. So that's pretty much that. I know, Joe, you had one other thing you wanted to talk to us about, right?
Yes. Actually, two quick things. One is the video that we touched on a few weeks back, where it did look like there was going to be some sort of friends and family deal coming in the not too distant future. Sourcing is still saying probably 60 or so days out. So stay tuned for that. And then I also wanted to put my Joeler hat on for a moment. And stay tuned. There will be a new announcement coming literally in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I don't want to go too much into detail, but let's just say if you have a Z06, there will be a new offering. And I think if you don't already have a throttle body, you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for that. So I'll be back, obviously, to talk more about that in detail, but just sort of wanted to tease that one out for you. And, we'll break that live right here on Justin's channel at the appropriate time, but probably in about 2 weeks. So sit tight on that. And as Justin said, our partnership with Criswell is both for pre-owned as well as new vehicles. They have 56 brand new 2026s available. While you could certainly go there on your own, as Justin said, we do have a strategic relationship with them. I work almost daily now with the head of sales there. So it's in your best interest, if you are interested in anything you see there or on our site, to just email us. You will get a VIP service, meaning I will do all the introductions. You'll be treated extraordinary, as I have been in all the years that I've purchased some cars from Griswold. And as far as the best deal you will get, we are going to be bringing them volume. And as every one of you know, buying 1 or 2 cars is nice and they'll work with you as any dealer would, but we plan on bringing them a lot of cars this year. So make sure you take advantage of that. That's it for tonight.
Awesome. Joe, thanks as always for coming on and dropping some knowledge on us. We appreciate it.
All righty. Thanks, everybody. Have a good show, and I'll be watching.
See you, Joe.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys. So obviously, Joe and I are kicking off this Griswold partnership or sponsorship with YouTube. We're trying to get this this ball rolling, so to speak. So again, if you guys are interested in any of the cars you saw, please reach out, let us know. We will put you in touch with the right person. And honestly, if you're kind of kicking tires, but you still want to get in on something with this, I mean, you don't have to be 100% serious. If you're just looking, still reach out to us first and let us help you in the right direction. Obviously, they're trying to sell these cars, and based on some knowledge that I just was recently told, as of right now, you can't even get an allocation for a Stingray because apparently they're just about ready to start moving over to the 2027s. So if you guys know, the 2027s are going to be starting production here pretty soon. We're maybe a month at most out from them cutting off 2026s. So keep that in mind as well. So anyway, guys, let's smash the thumbs up if you can. It looks like we have over 100 people watching, only 73 thumbs ups. Smash the thumbs ups. We have a lot of stuff to discuss tonight. And of course, it's all awesome. It's all Corvette stuff. But we already talked about the giveaway stuff. We are going to start off big with the 2026s. Anybody in here who has one, check this out. I come across this on the Mid-Engine Corvette forum. It says, anyone having issues with their 2026? And it goes on to talk about a problem with the actual infotainment system. So the 2026 Corvette is equipped with the GM's IVE infotainment screen hardware, which is part of, the next generation, blah, 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 blah. But there's been some issues with it. So there is a dealer bulletin that had the GM engineering teams researching a fix for. And I was like, okay, I want to go a little deeper on this. What is the problem? What's happening here? Apparently they are malfunctioning. All 3 screens, not even just the infotainment. All 3 screens will go black and you can't get them to come back. So with all that said, I was like, well, I want to see this in action. And it was right after I pulled up this article that I went over to Facebook and I was just scrolling through and came across this. There's literally a guy with a video showing him driving his car with none of the 3 screens working. And he talks about how all 3 of his screens went out and now he's waiting on a new stereo with only 2,000 miles on the car. This is a brand new 2026 having what I would call a pretty spectacularly devastating problem. I mean, if I had this happen in any one of my cars, I'd be pretty upset, especially since most people are buying the 2026s because of the new interior and the new screens. And then they just cut off to the point where GM's actual fix for it at one point was to replace the whole system, screens and all. They were literally ripping everything apart to replace this. Now, because we moved the Monday Night Live from Monday to Wednesday, we actually have a little bit more of an update on this. GM has come out with a fix that's software-based that will supposedly fix this. Now, I say supposedly because there's no proof that it will necessarily fix your screen once they are completely black like that, but we'll see. That's what they're targeting for. Now, that is breaking news over at the Mid-Engine Corvette forum. There is a fix for the 2026 radio screen / infotainment. And apparently this particular update, which right here it is, if you guys need it, highlighted there is the actual bulletin number and everything you're going to need. So make sure to kind of copy that down, take it to your dealer and let them know. But there's more improvements apparently to this than just fixing the screen. We're also getting rid of course, the black screen, which is good. Again, to be seen if it actually 100% works. Anytime the touch is unresponsive, it will fix that. Anything freezing, OnStar call flickering, cruise control gap icon improvements, and then under the camera display being black screen, that will be fixed. Camera screen with homepage in the background will be fixed. Obviously, there's a lot of kind of updates happening to this. So freezings, black screens, and maybe some new icons. Either way, if you have a 26, you should definitely be checking this out, because this could be, I wouldn't want that system going completely black while I'm driving. I mean, that's, you kind of need that information. Yeah, exactly. John Perkins says, never buy the 6th model year of a car. It doesn't matter at any given moment what year you buy. What people will always say something like that. I remember when the C8 Stingray first came out, everybody was like, oh, don't buy the first year. It's going to have all kinds of bugs. I never had one single problem with my 2020 Stingray. Not one problem. So it does not matter. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't matter. Is there exceptions to the rule? Of course there is. But if you say that, oh, don't buy the first year, you're probably just hurting yourself. Yeah, Riptide says if it was software, they wouldn't have to replace the screen. I agree, but before GM knew what would fix it, they were replacing the whole thing, because they didn't know if it was software or if it was actually hardware related. So now that they do, they must have located the problem between Monday and today, and now they realize that a software update will apparently fix it. Now, I say fix, like I said, there's no guarantee that it's not hardware and that this isn't some sort of Band-Aid. We'll see. Time will tell on that. But if you do have a 2026, of course, go get this software update. It's not going to hurt. If anything, it's going to help you out to some degree. Yeah. Lewis says it's bad that these screens are already having issues. Imagine how bad it will be after the warranty. It's a problem with technology. It looks great. It functions pretty well. The little bit that I've sat in the 26, it's nice and speedy. It feels good. But it doesn't last. It is what it is. Samson says, Justin, will there be any changes for 2027? I have not heard of anything official yet, except for 2 new colors. So we're going to get Admiral Blue and a darker gray for 27. Other than that, I have not heard of any further updates for any of the cars. Of course, the Grand Sport's coming in 27 as well. And we're supposedly hearing something about the Grand Sport here within the next couple weeks. Some people have said that we're actually going to see the car, of course, at the Bash, and I agree. I think we are going to see the car at the Bash in Admiral Blue. So they're going to introduce Admiral Blue and the new gray at the Bash, as well as the Grand Sport will be there, but we're going to have to hear of the Grand Sport before the Bash. So anytime between now and like the 2nd or 3rd week of April, we're going to get official wording on the Grand Sport. There you go. John Perkins says the only problem with his 2020 is the driver. All right, guys, we got 130 people in here watching, 90 thumbs ups. Let's rock those thumbs ups. Let's get to 100 by 8 o'clock. That's 3 minutes from now. It's only 10 thumbs ups in 3 minutes. Let's rock that, guys. This is what they look like in case you're wondering. Look at all those thumbs. Look at all those thumbs. One of those could be your thumbs if you hit thumbs up. Vader says maybe Shark Gray. Unfortunately, it's not going to be Shark Gray. David from DBM Racing has already kind of seen the color, and it's much darker than Shark Gray. Yeah, Professor Corvette, that's a great question, and of course we want to know. He says, want to know how many ZR1Xs I saw on the line at the plant on Monday? I do. How many did you see? Captain Mike. Your car was reported running down 264 at 145 miles an hour. Any truth to that? I don't know if you're talking about me or not, but it would depend on what day you're referring to. Because that's oddly pretty close to something that has happened recently. No, not Asteroid Gray. Right now it's being called Pitch Metallic. That's the internal name for it. I haven't seen a name yet for it. And yes, AARPM asks about the Bash, the hotel for the Bash. I do have one. And I'm going to put the information up on the screen here in 1 second. Let me just get to it. So here it is. This is the hotel we're going to be staying at. So Dana is likely to ride down with me this year in my car. He's probably not going to bring his car. So him and I will be staying here at the Town Place Suites by Marriott in Bowling Green. It's about 10 minutes from the actual museum. If you guys want to stay the same days and the same times and everything, check it out. That's the place. It's Town Place Suites by Marriott, Bowling Green, and I'll look up the actual address here and send it to you. But let's see, Town Place Suites. If you guys are interested, I'm going down on Wednesday, and I'm going to stay until Sunday. So, yeah, here's the address. If you are interested, I will post it in the chat. I'd like to have as many of you stay there as possible. Whenever we did book those rooms, there was a bunch of rooms still available. So I just pasted the address into the chat. If you're interested in staying at the same place, check it out. We'll be there from Wednesday to Sunday. AARPM, I tried to request a group rate. They don't do that kind of thing, apparently. So the rooms aren't horribly expensive, but if you wanted to call them and see if they give you a different answer, they wouldn't do anything like that for me. Joey Cuts says, never been to the Bash. What's this all about? Honestly, the Bash, the best way to describe the Bash is an excuse for a bunch of Corvette guys to hang out. And you're doing it at the National Corvette Museum in Kentucky. So I don't know if you really need to know anything more than that. The Bash is a bash. Yeah. Ricky says, Bash Discord. I will actually post all of this information in the Discord after the live tonight. So, Ricky, I know you're already in there. If you want to start posting some stuff in there too, you feel free. But if not, I'll add as much of it as I can. So if you guys are wondering about where we're staying or what we're doing, Discord is the best way to keep up to date with this kind of stuff, because we typically will post car show events in there. So go to Discord. You'll be able to see all the information on this particular hotel if you didn't just get it now in the chat. If you're watching this later, check out the Discord, the Horsepower Obsessed Discord, and I'll make sure all that information's in there for you. Again, I'd love to see as many of you as possible stay at that same hotel, as well as many of you as possible grabbing the Bash Takeover shirts over at the website, horsepowerobsessed.com. Grab one of these shirts. We're going to all plan to wear these on Friday. I'd love to see as many of you as possible with those on. I think that was really cool last year. I think it was a good time. So if you agree, feel free. Yeah, Joe says the Bash is like a Corvette family reunion. Now, one other thing I did want to mention real quick, Joe Joler, before he signed off, he had touched on, number one, the employee discount pricing that we had talked about on the channel a couple weeks ago. It is, he had actually talked to somebody and got some clarification. We are going to see that within this next 60 to 90 days. So if you are interested in the employee discount pricing, some of you guys, when watching that video, you didn't quite understand what I was saying. This is employee discount pricing for everyone. This isn't if you had an aunt or an uncle in GM and you could get employee pricing. That was always available. This employee pricing will be available for everybody, and it's likely to show up in the next 60 to 90 days. So there, I just want to give you guys an update on that. And there is something really cool coming from Solar Performance for the Z06. You're going to hear more about it in March, and you're going to hear it here first. So stay tuned. Let's see. Yeah, they usually preview the new colors, any changes of the car coming up, but sometimes they don't. Like last year when they didn't show us the 26 interior for some reason, even though we all expected it was coming. So, yeah. So again, guys, if you have a 26, there is an issue with the interior infotainment system. You can get an update for it. So be sure to go do that at your dealership. Let's see. We got 134 people watching, 107 thumbs ups. Let's keep going with the thumbs ups, guys. We got a lot more news to talk about with the ZR1. Over at the CorvetteBlogger.com, they said that the MotorTrend, MotorTrend in general runs their 2026 Corvette ZR1 through its independent performance tests. Now, this was a really, really short and sweet and straight to the point kind of video here. 4 minutes long. But one interesting part that I took away from this was, and I think they actually put this in the type up here, but MotorTrend says that Chevy told them specifically to perform burnouts to warm the tires, and the editors didn't disappoint. Of course, they did the burnouts. After warming the tires, MotorTrend ran the car 0 to 60 for a recorded time of 2.5 seconds, and the quarter mile time where the ZR1 ran 9.9 at 144 miles an hour. These figures were slower than the official Chevy times of 2.3 seconds to 60 and 9.6 seconds for the quarter mile. Now, apparently, MotorTrend they mentioned something in the video about kind of being slightly disappointed by that. Now, these times are still, let's not get this twisted. These times are ridiculous. And there's a lot of factors that go into these times. Just how warm those tires were, how warm the ambient temperature was, what elevation you're at. I mean, there's a million things. So, of course, these times are going to vary. But that's not even a very huge variation. So, I mean, we're literally talking about 0.2 seconds on the 0 to 60 and 0.3 on the quarter mile. It's not anything huge. But even with all that said, they do go on to say that only one rear-wheel drive car has ever recorded a quicker time for MotorTrend, and that's the 2015 Ferrari LaFerrari, which ran 0 to 60 in 2.4 seconds. So if the ZR1 had actually done the 2.3, the 2.2, the 2.1s that I've been seeing, it would have actually recorded faster than any rear-wheel drive car that they've ever tested. That is awesome. Of course, the ZR1 is breaking records and making people impressed across the board. But whenever you see MotorTrend and these companies that deal with gigantically awesome supercars on a regular basis, recording numbers like this and saying, you know what? This thing's doing better than a LaFerrari. That's a pretty big deal. That's a huge deal. And the good news about a ZR1, and it can absolutely killing the competition, doesn't even stop there. Let's see. What else do we got? While we're talking about the ZR1, let's talk about the 2026 Corvette ZR1 production reaching new milestone. If you, I guessed the milestone before I even scrolled through this article. Odds are good you could too. But if you don't want to wait and guess, they've made over 1,000 C8 ZR1s for 2026. So we are over 1,000 of these cars produced. Now, this is just for 2026. And so far, it looks like there are 1,037 ZR1s produced in the 2026 model year. That's pretty good. It's not as high as I'd like, but it's nice to see that that number is continuously going up at a pretty steady fashion. So what's interesting on top of that, though, is the charts here. The amount of 2026 ZR1s that got the aero package. 80% of the ZR1s made in 2026 have the carbon fiber aero. Less than 20% are the base aero package without the big wing. I think that's interesting. That used to be in the 2025 model, that was like 50-50. It was very close to 50-50. Now it's 80% got the big wing. Less surprisingly, there is 98.2% of those that decided on the 3LZ interior instead of the 1LZ. So less than 2% opted for a 1LZ interior. It's pretty crazy. What's even crazier is how many ZR1s have come out of some of these dealerships. McMulkin at 47. There's a lot of ZR1s out of there. But these colors for these cars as well. 270 have been black. And honestly, I think the only color that I've ever really seen of these cars, other than Hysteria Purple, only because I know it's one of my subscribers, Steven, has one, all of them I've ever seen posted online is black. Let's see. What do we got here? So again, this is the list of colors for the 2026 ZR1s. Yep, DBM Racing says he's all about the shirt. Yeah. That was pretty cool. And that, I mean, he's not biased at all either because it was his idea. Last year's weather was not the best. I feel like we'll have better weather this year, hopefully. Let's see. Packet Watchdog. ZR1 boys dumping for ZR1Xs. I can't imagine that there's very many ZR1 guys dropping the ZR1 for a ZR1X. I personally would suspect that's not going to happen. Maybe on a very, very, very small scale. For the most part, anybody out there that has a ZR1 is probably going to be pretty happy with it, considering the power that car is making is absolutely insane. We're actually going to talk about it. Actually, Steven's in here too, so we're going to talk about his car and the power it's making on the dyno and why the amount of power he's making is not even the maximum amount of power that this car could be making. Yeah. Well, Starched, he says he doesn't like the fact that they even offer a 1LZ for a ZR1. You're paying over $200K. You don't want to be associated with a base. There's only one reason, and it's because there's a pretty solid group of people out there that will buy this car at the absolute lowest weight option for track purposes. And the 1LZ removes a lot of unnecessary things from the interior that create extra weight, like heated and cooled seats, cameras, stuff like that. If they don't want that extra weight, that's the best way to do it. Now, I'm in agreement that I personally would always go with the 3LZ, and I also hate that they called it a 3LZ for the ZR1. It should be a 3ZR. So if you hear me call it a 3ZR, that's why. That's what it should be. But either way, that's where we're at with it, unfortunately. So Professor Corvette, I didn't see if you had typed in there how many you saw on your tour at the museum. So if you could type it in again, I'm interested in hearing that. Yeah, so Professor Corvette says they're not cooled, they're ventilated. 100% that is the case. But let's go down this rabbit hole. They're not cooled. So you don't want to ever call these seats air conditioned. But the odds of someone pushing that button to have their ventilated seats turn on in a situation where your air conditioning is not also on is really low. So let's put that in perspective. If your air conditioning is on and you turn on the ventilated seats, guess what kind of air it's ventilating? Conditioned air. Okay, so it is only a ventilated seat. But the point is, it's very unlikely you're ever going to be using that ventilated seat unless your air conditioning is on. Therefore, they're cooled seats. That's pretty much it. Yeah, Anthony George says, wait, what's going on here? What day is it? Today is Wednesday, Anthony. For those of you just joining, I did postpone this from Monday because I was sick. I postponed it till today. So this is a special, we'll call it a special edition, Wednesday Corvette Weekly. General Lee says he's waiting for the hype of the ZR1X to die down with maybe getting a Zora. He could get one under MSRP. Or, did I read that word? I'm waiting on the... Yeah. I don't know. I personally have no interest in a ZR1X. I don't know what to expect with a Zora, I'll be honest. I have heard nothing from any of the sources that I have about anything official on that car. Or if it even exists. I do think it's going to exist, personally, but I have no idea what it's going to even be. Everything we thought the Zora was going to be, the ZR1X is. So I have no idea. Professor Corvette said he saw 10 ZR1s on the line and only one ZR1X. That's interesting. I would have guessed you would have seen less of the ZR1s at least, but Yeah. Huh. See, Brad says the Holy Grail is a ZR1 with 1LZ non-aero. I personally couldn't disagree more, but I love options. So everybody out there, anybody who wants one of these cars should be able to get it in the exact form that they want. So I would never in a million years force what my opinion is on anybody else. And the fact that Brad, that if you ever did get this car, that's how you would get it. It's totally awesome that you can do that. I mean, assuming there's not constraints, of course. So let's see. Yeah, I was definitely on constraint on Monday. That's a great way to put it. I felt like I was on constraint too. All right, guys, we got over 150 people in here watching. Let's keep smashing those thumbs ups. It really helps us a lot. Packet Watchdog says I could see ZR1Xs going up over the long run in value with at least rate of inflation if the miles stay low. I personally think the opposite. I think the E-Ray and the ZR1X, both of them, because they're hybrid, I think both of those cars are not going to deal with time very well. And that means pricing accordingly. I think the Z06 and the ZR1 will consistently stay pretty decent in value over time. Obviously, the Z06 has dropped heavily recently, but 10 years from now, the Z06 is going to be one of the more sought after C8s, and the ZR1 is going to be way more sought after than the ZR1X. I would put money on that. Anthony George says Justin was having too much fun at the auto show. I apparently had so much fun that I got a really nasty cold, and it knocked me down, man. I felt like I got hit by a truck. So yeah, Jim Middleton, that's a great question. I was actually going to talk about that tonight. Is the Yenko Corvette a real thing? It is. So they decided to take an E-Ray, do a bunch of work to it, and put out over 1,500 horsepower in a car and call it a Yenko. So it's real, and it's crazy, and I love it. It's crazy things like that make car enthusiasts crazier. I like it. It's very hard to sell a used EV. And it doesn't matter if it's fully electric or hybrid. People don't like that. And if you look at the values of like even the SF90s, even the Revoltos, the values of those things are just, they're not where they should be for the Lambo or Ferrari. It's because it's a hybrid. People are scared of those things. Yeah. Chopper Larry says ZR1X and E-Ray are not going to last. That's the scary part of a buyer for one of those cars, is looking at it and immediately realizing the weak point, the weak link of that car is the battery. No matter what you do, that battery is not going to outlast the engine of the car, the gas-powered engine. It's not going to happen. So at some point, you're going to be driving a car with a massive amount of power behind you and a dead motor in the front. So all you're really going to be doing is throwing around a couple hundred pounds in the front end that isn't doing you any good. Lewis says I'd still take a ZR1 over a Yenko E-Ray. 100%. I'm with you. Right there with you. Robert Brunn says the ZR1X is unobtainium. Right now it is. It will get to the point where you could get one if you wanted. But with that said, I do think GM's going to limit production on those to some degree because it is really expensive. It's an expensive car. So churning out a bunch of them doesn't make a lot of sense. That's a great point. Great point. From a guy who knows. Steven has one of the most modded E-Rays I've ever seen. And he says unless GM gave Yenko access to the TCM, there is no way that Yenko drives very well. That's a great point, and I'm going to see if I can find an answer on that to see if they did do any tuning with the TCM. I'm going to say they did not, because if they did, then that means it's short order before that same tuning is available to everybody. Because it was right after the Stingray got unlocked for Callaway that HP tuners just so happened to also be able to unlock it. I think you can kind of deduce where that knowledge of how to unlock the whole Global B thing came from. GM gave it to Callaway. Someone from Callaway leaked it, most likely. That's, I mean, it really, the timing is suspect. So I'm going to say that that's probably what happened. Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is DBM Racing and Steven were testing the ZR1 recently on the dyno. If you got, again, guys, if you haven't seen it, check out his channel. He has a video of it over there. Steven's ZR1 with minimal bolt-ons makes over 1,000 horsepower at the wheels, which of course we've seen that before. That's somewhat normal. But his ZR1 is also making over 1,000 torque to the wheels. And the problem is it's running out of octane. It's not running out of fuel. Don't get it twisted. It's running out of octane. So with an octane booster in the tank, this ZR1 could potentially be well over 1,200 horsepower to the wheels. Probably over 1,100 torque to the wheels. At what point do you say, you know what, I also need a hybrid motor on the front of this thing to make more power? Like, you're going to be making, and that's just with minimal bolt-ons and some octane boost. That's not tuning. That's not any crazy bolt-ons. This car, I guarantee at the end of the day, with tuning and massive bolt-ons available, you're looking at pushing this thing over 1,500 horsepower, probably without breaking a sweat. They're absolutely insane power figures. The most insane I've ever seen. 1,200 horsepower out of a naturally aspirated engine with just octane boost. I mean, they saw the dyno graphs showing the car is literally running out of octane at the top end. And that's not surprising because my C7 ZR1 does the same thing. It runs out of octane if you put too many free-flowing mods on it. I've seen it personally, and that's the C7 ZR1. So the C8 is doing the same thing. It's not running out of fuel. It's running out of octane. So a lot of people were speculating, like, how the heck did GM get this thing to even get to 1,064 on 93 octane? It's at the ragged edge of octane. It needs more. I agree. And Z06 Hot Rod Todd says that the all-wheel drive hybrid is more about drag strip launches than horsepower. I 100% agree. And again, I'm going to reference something that I've referenced a couple times now. The most recent video from GM talking about the ZR1X and showing the launch or the quarter mile times and everything, they didn't mention once the Nürburgring times or any track times. All they talked about was drag strip times. That car is 100% built for drag strip and 0 to 60 launches. It's almost like GM doesn't seem to care that it also was the fastest over at the Nürburgring. That they're leaving that to the ZR1 and the Z06. And I think that's kind of rightfully so. I think that's a good way to do it. But that's my opinion versus what we've even seen from GM. Their full video never mentioned anything about track use, only drag strip. Exactly why we need an E85 tune from GM. That would be really nice. Have it automatically detect when you have E85, or even if you had to push a button, E85. Either way. Yeah, E85 is going to make a massive difference. So will just some octane boost, I'm telling you. Can a VP octane boost, dump it in there. RPM, Race Proven Motorsports, has done it on their YouTube channel on a C7 where they dumped in just a can of octane boost and the car immediately showed like 100 more horsepower because it's literally running out of octane. Professor Corvette says not the Z06, it was a dog in a ring. I would not say it was a dog necessarily, but I get what you're saying. Let's see. Okay. If anybody can make me a believer, Steven, it's you. So let's see it happen. Anyone use octane booster in their Z regularly? I've never used it in my Z. I've never used it in any of my cars, to be honest with you, but I don't have mods that are pushing the octane to the ragged edge. Tech Speed says to believe that the battery tech in an E-Ray or any other performance hybrid can't be evolved and replaced is underestimating the engineering that goes into the EV. You're right until we're out of this generation. So by the time the C10's out, C11, nobody at GM is going to care about the C8. So they're not going to be replacing battery technology. They're not going to be servicing hybrid motors. That's what I'm referring to. I'm not referring to a year or two down the road. I'm referring, like, now if you go and you say, you know what, I want to get a nice C6 Z06. You can buy a 2009 C6 Z06. And the reason that car is so held in such high regard still to this day is because of the engine. And there's nothing on it that's no good anymore. But if it had, at the time, well, let's say it had a hybrid, set up the way that the E-Ray does now, it's past the point of GM having to service that car. So they don't have to carry the parts for it anymore. It's 10 years for a model. They don't have to carry the parts. They don't have to service it. You're not under warranty. At some point, that motor is going to be useless. Now, whether you keep the car that long or not, that's up to you. I'm just saying, for the collectors, that's the way it's going to be viewed. And that's exactly how it has been viewed, even on the higher end Ferrari SF90s and stuff like that. Bill says he has used 103 octane in his ProCharge C6 and he noticed the difference. I would imagine. I mean, I know this stuff works. I've never used it personally, but I know it works. Yeah, 10 years from the last model year. I mean, that means 2023 is the last year that they had to make a part for a C6. Because 2013 was the last year they made it. So they don't have to make those. And I mean, I know that there was no hybrid in the C6, of course, but I'm just saying if there was, we're to the point now where they would not have to service it. Let's see. No, and again, Joe, I don't think at all that you have to be afraid of it. That's not what I'm saying. People like you and pretty much, I would imagine most of the people in this chat, if you bought an E-Ray or you buy a ZR1X, odds are very good you're not going to have it 15 years from now. But if you do, this is a problem you could run into where that motor is not being made anymore. The battery's not supported. There's nothing you can really do with it other than either strip it out of there completely or deal with the extra weight on the front end of the car when you're getting zero power addition from it. So David said adding the E85 in that ZR1 made it so it wouldn't knock as much. Obviously, then it's not pulling any power towards the end. It definitely just needs more octane. Brad says he wants a C6 That's funny. I was literally just looking at one the other day. Who knows? Lewis says, Justin, you think you're going to get a ZR1 allocation for 2026? I honestly don't know. I was told I'm going to get one early spring. Early spring technically is around March-ish, but it depends on how early we're talking, because if I don't get it really soon, then it's going to be a 27. And if it's a 27, that actually gives me an additional color choice, because I'd probably go with that dark gray that's coming. Say hi, Amber. Everybody's saying hi to you. Yeah, Riptide Rick says, try getting C5 interior plastic parts. They're next to impossible. That's my point. And it's not, this isn't my way of trying to stop any of you guys from buying those. If you want an E-Ray, get an E-Ray. The E-Ray, it's a great car, but just know if for some reason you kept it for 15 plus years, you might have a problem with it in that time frame. And if you do, it's going to be very hard to get any work done to those batteries. The odds of any of you guys keeping the car that long, slim to none. But in 15 years from now, some collector guy is going to watch this video and be like, he's right. I should get the Z06. Because the battery thing is not going to hold up. Riley Roofers says he's selling his ZR1 if anyone's interested. We can help you out with that by putting it on the Vet Exchange website if you want. Shoot me an email if you're interested in doing that. We can get it up on the website and I can get all the specs out to everybody. Stephen, what are your thoughts on that? I know I talked to David a little bit about it, and I feel like that thing might not be doing as much as the mods that you have on the car. What are your thoughts on it though? AARPM says use that Criswell leverage. I tried, man. Criswell, one of the biggest reasons I wanted to partner with Criswell is also one of the reasons why I can't get a ZR1 through them, is that they're really morally correct, and they're not going to push me to the top of the list to get a ZR1 and screw the people that have actually been waiting for one. So that's a good thing for people waiting for the car. It was not great for me to hear that. I was hoping that, they'd be able to help me out somehow, but it's a good thing morally. It's a good dealership to work with. Yeah. Whatever color they're going to call it, for now, internally, it's known as pitch metallic. It's likely to be a dark gray metallic, and that's probably what I'll get if I get pushed to a 27. Professor Corvette says, I heard you have to wear a lead vest while driving E-Ray to protect yourself from the E-Ray emissions. Let's not start another rumor with this thing. I mean, it's already to the point where if I go down the road right now and poll 10 random people, 9 out of 10 will think that that E-Ray is fully electric. So I don't want to start any additional thoughts in their heads. Yeah, I mean, that's true too. LT4 Powered says he's interested in buying it, just not paying for it. I can get behind that. Wheeler says, missed start of this. What was the new power number with that done? Oh, I think there's just high flow cats and an intake on a ZR1. And it was putting down over 1,000 horsepower and over 1,000 torque. If you go to David's channel, DBM Racing, he actually has the video on there of the ZR1 on the dyno with very minimal bolt-ons, no tuning yet, and it was putting down over 1,000 horsepower and over 1,000 torque on the dyno. Robert Brunn says in 15 years the computers won't be supported anymore. Very true, but computers don't die the way that batteries do. Batteries consistently stop holding full charges and all kinds of stuff like that. Battery technology in general is scary to anybody buying an aftermarket or a used car. So that's the biggest thing that's going to prevent them from going up in value. Bill, I knew someone was going to say this as soon as I said that they're a morally correct dealership. The sad part is that most dealerships are corrupt. So when you find one that's not, it's a good place to be, except for when you want one to be a little bit corrupt. But if you want a corrupt one, just open a phone book and go through the list. Odds are good they're all to that way to some degree. I'm kind of hoping the same thing, Ricky. Rally Roofer says, this new ZR1 will maintain better value than a 19 ZR1. Ask me why. I would like to know why you think that, because I'd put money on the fact you're wrong. The 19 will hold better value because there's way less made, and it's the last of the front engine and last manual transmission. Odds are very good. If you have a manual ZTK ZR1 from 2019, you have a car that's worth more than the new ZR1s will be worth. But let me hear your opinion on it. Professor Corvette. Steven says it's a work in progress. I think you can get close to the same power either way. Keep stock or go JB4. Yeah, stocking horsepower is to be determined. That's exactly my thoughts on it, Steven. I thought it's kind of one or the other. If you're doing both, you're getting diminishing returns. I like that. I personally think that's a good position to be in, because then you can kind of choose, do I want to put high flow cats on a car? Do I want to mess with an air intake? Or do I want to just plug this thing in and call it a day? Yeah, 1,000 torque. And that's with the car running out of octane at the high end. Again, not running out of fuel. It's running out of octane. So with an octane booster, this car could easily be putting down over 1,200 horsepower with 2 little bolt-ons. Yeah, of course the GM lead vests are on constraint. We wouldn't have it any other way. Tech Speed says he has the privilege of having both an E-Ray and a Z07. Crazy about both, but I know I will not have the E-Ray past 5 years because of the battery. I'm just a Corvette. He's just a Corvette guy, and I can totally appreciate that. Absolutely, I met you enough times to know you're as crazy about Corvettes as I am, and that's a great position to be in. But you have the knowledge that I'm trying to, get across here, is that the battery technology is not one that you want, to be left holding in 10, 15 years. So we're on the same page. Lower numbers being made, supercar status, fastest car than anything in his competition. You're right. Right now. That changes, though. When the C7 ZR1 came out, it had the same bragging rights. That changes. Then once those numbers aren't the fastest anymore, what does that car have to keep it special? Production numbers, they've already made more. No, they're close. Very close to making more C8 ZR1s than C7 ZR1s. Once they crack that past that number, which they will, because we still have at least 2 to 3 years left of the C8, then the C7 ZR1 still has less made, still manual option, and it's still front wheel drive. Because there are still people out there that believe that only real Corvettes are front engine, sorry. So with all of that said, the C7 ZR1 will always maintain a higher value, dollar to dollar kind of ratio, in my opinion. I don't think the C8 ZR1 will, because they're making a lot more of them. But as of right now, the C8 ZR1, of course, is the fastest thing you can freaking buy. But that's going to change. That's not going to remain that way forever. No, it doesn't have supercar stats now, but it did in 2019. Hook's great. DCT shifts without issue. The edge seems to be 1050 rear wheel torque, but still being tested. That's crazy. Mark's in the house. What's up, Mark? Yeah, exactly, Mark. That's how you know it, man. I'm still not 100% either, so. Wheeler says, simply on single year production is enough to push C701 to the moon on limited numbers. That's it. The C8 ZR1 is going to be made from 25 to at least 29. So it's going to be at least four model years. Odds are good it's going to be 5 to 10,000 of those cars made in that time frame. It's not going to be a rare car. GM said flat out whenever they first announced it, they were not going to limit production. It is a high horsepower car, and it is absolutely built to stand with the elites, but that changes over time. So that's not going to keep that car a collector car or anything that's going to go up in value because of those numbers. The numbers that keep it going up are production numbers, low production numbers, high option things. So like the ZTK package, and rarity, of course, goes with the production numbers. That's it. My C7 ZR1, there was roughly 2,800 of them made in 2019. Of those 2,800, 30% of them were manuals. So right off the bat, that cuts it down to like 600-ish. Of those 600, only a certain percentage of those were ZTK package cars, and I want to say it was like 40%. So my car by itself, less than two or 300 of them were made. So it's a rare car. Now, 7 years later, how many of those have crashed, totaled, completely taken out of the equation? I have an even rarer car. And that's the thing that drives the value of the C7 ZR1 up, whereas the C8 value won't do the same thing. Oh, here we go. David actually sent me a dynograph to take a look at. So let's check this out. If you guys can see this, it might be a little small on your screen, but that is the dyno showing 1026 horsepower and 1026 torque. 1062 horsepower, sorry, and 1026 torque. Let's see if I can zoom in on this at all. There we go. That's impressive. There's no way around that. That's an impressive car right there. Basically, I'd just say basically 1,000 and 1,000. But if you also dump some octane boost in there, you're probably looking at 1,200 and 1050. Wheeler O'Hara, I said the same thing. He said he'd do cats and inventory versus the full ECU that JB4 did based on my guess of cost difference. Not just cost difference, ease of install. I think the JB4 thing looks pretty complicated to install all of the electrical components that need plugged in. I personally, plus you get better sound out of the cats and stuff like that. Yep, tech speed. Again, man, we're on the same page. He says, nope, not holding on to that battery. Fun for now, but I'm a realist. I'm waiting for a 27 ZR1 full ZTK, especially if that gray color is an option. Everything you just said is exactly how I feel about it. So we're 100% on the same page. Steven says both can be true, but the 19 ZR1 will always be worth more IMO. Yeah, and I'm not saying that the C8 ZR1 is going to crash in value. I don't see that happening at all. I do, however, see it maintaining probably, but not going up the way the 19 ZR1 did. Mark says it's nice to watch a Corvette channel where the host owns a Corvette. Not all can say that. I personally don't know how anybody could run a Corvette channel or even talk about Corvettes in general and not have one. A lot of the stuff we talk about here is not just news or knowledge, it's ownership experience. You have to own one of these things to really understand what makes them special, why they're such good cars, all of this stuff. You really have to. And I mean, I've owned 5, 6 Corvettes now at this point. I own 2 currently. The ZR1's coming, and when the ZR1 comes in, I'm most likely not selling the Z06, so I'll have 3 there. I love Corvettes. I mean, I can't talk about it enough. That's why these live videos, they're probably more fun for me than they are for you guys, because I love talking about this stuff. Tech Speed throws $20 at the channel. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Big supporter of the channel, Tech Speed. He's at every Carlisle. I'm sure he'll be at Carlisle this year too. So if you guys haven't met Tech Speed, you should come meet him. He's a cool dude. Thanks as always, Tech Speed. I appreciate it. Yeah, Z06 Hot Rod Todd says the upper part of the dyno here, where you can see the waves, that's running out of octane or knock. Yeah. So the numbers look fantastic, but it needs more octane. Now, this can easily be fixed with a tune or E85 if we can find a way to have that run correctly. It'd be easy. And at that point, you're talking about a 1200 horsepower car to the wheels easily with simple bolt-ons. It's wild. It's absolutely, it's a crazy thing. Wheeler says, I'm dying to install my new Sport Cats to see how more lively it sounds. Are you talking about on a Z06 or on a ZR1? I know on the Z06, the Sport Cats sound freaking phenomenal. It literally brings that car to life. There's nothing scary about this, Bill. The scariest part is, to me, it's running out of octane, that's fantastic versus the alternative of running out of fuel. The fact that it's not running out of fuel and it's only running out of octane, that's actually a good thing. Tech Speed says, that's like most of the online haters. They don't even have a Corvette, nor have they ever even driven one. That's it. I've told people that multiple times. And actually, I was just talking at the auto show about this year to the people who discount Corvettes. And every single one of them, I asked them, have you ever driven a Z06? No. The answer to every one of them that immediately discounted Corvettes, I asked them, have you ever driven a Z06? And the answer was always no. And I just looked at them and like, you're literally discounting one of the best sports cars out there, and you've not even driven one. Go drive one before you tell me that it's no good. Rally Roofers says, you guys are making me want to keep the 1901, the car that I never drive in the garage. I drive mine very, very, very small, very minimal amount myself. And I've had the same thought go through my head of maybe I should sell it. Number one, I can't be for like nostalgia reasons, I guess, or, personal, but it doesn't get driven a lot. And honestly, that car is going to be worth massive money eventually. It's already worth more than I paid for it, but it's going to continue to go up. Although yours being an auto does affect the value a little bit. The automatic ZR1s don't fetch as much as the manuals do. And again, it's a production thing. It's a numbers thing. There was less than 30% of those cars were manuals. So the rarest of the rare, it keeps boiling down. Is it ZTK? Yeah. Okay. Is it a manual? Yeah. Okay. Is it a 3LZ or 3ZR? Yeah. Okay. It just keeps going down. Wheeler says a Sport Cat's on a Z06. Yeah, good. You're going to love it. In a Z06, in my opinion, you need 3 mods. You need 3 mods. If you have a Z06 and you have not done these 3, you're missing out. And those 3 would be ported throttle bodies, Venturi intake, and Sport Cats. Those 3 will make your car feel completely different than it was stock. It's faster. It feels lighter on the throttle. The car itself is lighter. You're shedding a good 25, 30 pounds on doing those mods. Throttle response is better. Everything about the car is better with those mods. And I went from one that had all those mods to right back to a completely stock Z06. The difference was night and day. Okay. Steven says, go with the high flow cats and Venturi. Leave the factory exhaust and you're done. This is for a ZR1. More turbo sound and more mid-range torque. That's interesting. The only reason I would replace an exhaust on a ZR1 is for less weight. So you could drop a lot of weight off the rear end of the car by getting rid of the stock exhaust. But as far as sound is concerned, the stock exhaust is pretty good. Even on a Z06, it's pretty good. The biggest reason I changed my exhaust on my Z06 is because the AWE does sound a little bit better. It drops weight, it creates a little bit of power, and it has nicer tips than the stock exhaust does. But the big part of it is it drops weight. So let's see, what else do we got here? Oh, yeah, there is actually one more piece of news I wanted to discuss really quick, and that is coolant hose disconnecting by itself on some 2026s. So this is a weird kind of message going out to the dealerships talking about a coolant hose that's underneath the car that could possibly become disconnected. Sorry guys, still fighting off my cold here, but ultimately, let me open this up because these are documents from GM to kind of show you where this hose is at. So if you have a 26, you might want to check this out. So scrolling down through here, if you get underneath the car, you can actually see this coolant hose. And there is this little blue tab on it. You see that blue like pull tab? Apparently that's not supposed to be there. That's actually a disconnect tool. So that being there actually makes that coolant hose able to come apart. So if you have a 26, you might want to climb under the car and just check that out real quick, especially if you've had a coolant leak of some kind, and make sure that that is not on your car. So as usual, these kind of weird things coming out, it's interesting to see this, because if you didn't know this was a problem and you had a coolant puddle under your car all the time, you know, it's always good to know this kind of stuff. So anyway, let's see. We got pretty much everything talked about there. Rally Roofer says, Josh, do you want to host my ZR1 on the channel at the shop doing PPF window tinting? Yeah, if you want to. I don't know where you live exactly. I mean, I'm guessing you're in North Carolina based on your name. I can't remember if that's where you live or not. But shoot me an email. We could talk. But yeah, guys, that looks like pretty much it. Looks like we got 150 people watching. Let's smash those thumbs up. Get that moving. Other than that, I think we're pretty much good for the information here. We got all the news out there. Again, contact us, HPO Vet Exchange at gmail.com if you want to try to get one of the new Corvettes we talked about here, new or used. If you're trying to sell yours, let us know. Just contact us and we'll take care of you the best we can. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much going to do it for today's video. We talked about all the news. Let me know down below how you guys feel about the ZR1 information we talked about. But that's going to do it, guys. Yeah, go check out the website, horsepowerobsessed.com. Get some Bash Takeover t-shirts. We'll see you at the Bash this year. Smash the thumbs up if you liked it, guys. Subscribe if you haven't. And as always, stay obsessed. We'll see you next Monday night.